Welcome students for this lecture series on biomass energy. Uh, this lecture series will be having two lectures in which in the first part I will be covering basically on how the biomass energy is being produced and what are its potentials in terms of generating energy. At the same time, I will be also covering on how it is being used. The second part I will be covering mostly on the available technologies that are being utilized to generate biofuel from these biomasses. So let's start with today's lecture on biomass. So for Indian scenario, this is a very important form of energy because if you see in India, our total from the total energy that we use, 32% is being utilized from biomass. So we nearly produced energy of about 32% from biomass. And in rural areas, there are about 70% people who are dependent upon this biomass. If you see in villages, mostly people cook or heat water or any heating purposes. They use wood as their main source of energy, but by using it, most of the heating that is been done or the burning of wood, it is done in open air. And because of that, the efficiency of conversion from wood to the usable energy is only 5%. So in that case, one has to think that we are using in such a huge quantity of biomass, but it is not being utilized in an efficient way. So there are certain ways, a simple route which can really increase the efficiency of your biomass energy production. So we will be mainly focusing on that part, how that can be done. So for India, in another context, it is also very important that geographically we are located in such a place with a good environmental condition, such that we can produce a certain biomass plants which is very rich in energy content. Okay, especially if you look at for example, sugarcane. Okay, sugarcane is been only produced in tropical regions like India, like us. And sugarcane can produce 8 times more bioethanol, okay, than anything else. Anything else means corn. Okay, so similarly, for example, if we consider some oil containing plants such as Jatropha, which is also a very rich in oil content. Okay, it's about 37% of the oil is been stored in Jatropha, and it has been only been produced in India. So these are very important plants, okay, which is grown in our country and which can be efficiently used to generate large amount of energy. So for Indian context, this form of energy is very, very important. So first we will look into what is biomass energy. So if we just consider, just biomass is nothing but all the organic matter, including all the plants, animals, even human beings. They are all biomass. And this is nothing. All this biomass is nothing but a stored energy from sunlight, because all the plants consume sunlight, and through photosynthesis it produces carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates, which is in form of vegetable, fruits, leaves, these are being eaten by the animals and human beings. And later on the cycle just goes on. So it is basically nothing but, biomass is nothing but a stored form of sunlight, like what we also have it for wind energy or for hydropower. All this is nothing but a stored form of sunlight. Similarly, biomass is also one form of energy which is converted from sunlight. So sun is the main source of energy in this case also, and the energy generated by using biomass, it's called biomass energy. This energy can be anything from by eating biomass, or by burning, or by converting it into fuel. So whenever we do this and produce energy out of it, it is called biomass energy. So what are the sources? What are the main source of biomass energy? As I've told you that all plants, human, animals, they can all produce biomass energy. But we cannot just burn animal. We cannot burn human beings and produce energy out of it. It is the organic matter. Mostly from animals and human beings. It is the waste, okay, that is being utilized to generate biomass. There are also other form of biomass, mainly in plants. We can use wood mainly as the source. Then we have the agriculture crops. The waste that has been generated from the agriculture crop can also be used as a biomass energy. Then sometimes there is a fire in a forest, and because of that fire, it is actually uh, this fire take place can produce a lot of coal. Okay, so this coal can be also used as a source to generate energy. Similarly, animal droppings and several other things. So mostly, if you see the biomass energy, if we focus, except for fruit and vegetable that we eat, if we want to produce energy in terms of generating fuel, we should focus on waste. So these are the main biomass sources, which is you can see it is from agriculture crop residues. Means like if you see with rice or corn or anything, wheat, there is the if we remove it, there is a lot of grass that have been remaining. This can be directly used. They directly feed to the cattle, but it can be directly also used to generate energy. Then we have sewage from our home, municipal waste. We have animal residues, mainly cow dungs. It is very very efficient to produce biomass energy. Then we have also some industrial residues, where organic matters has been used as a basic component. So whatever waste that it comes out, it can be very useful to generate biomass energy. Then we have forest crops and residues. There is a very important rules that one must follow while separating the waste in our house, is that we must always separate the wet waste and the dry waste. Because the wet waste that we which is mainly organic, okay, it can be actually a very useful source of biomass energy. Okay, if we just ferment it, or there are many processes that take place. We'll cover this that in our lectures. But if we process that weight waste, we can convert lot of amount of energy. And in India, we are so fortunate that we can grow crops thrice a year. Okay, in some places like Punjab, where they can grow wheat at thrice a year, which is so. In that case, we can generate so much of biomass. Similarly, in many places in India, we can generate crops twice a year. But if you see at other Western countries, mainly Europe or any other Western countries, 6 months they are in a cold scenarios. So in this cold, they cannot generate any kind of crops. Okay, so they can only grow crops once a year. So the biomass production in India is huge. Okay, and it's so huge that we can not only serve as a nation to to, to provide food materials for rest of the world, but we can also be a uh, main source where we can generate biomass energy. So we have to look into converting waste into the biomass energy. So first, before we go into further details of biomass, I just wanted to first list down this: what is the difference between biomass and the fossil fuel? Because there is a lot of confusion that goes into this. Because if you just see the coal can be produced in both the places, in biomass as well as from fossil fuels, because fossil fuels, the coal has been produced from the residues which has been buried billion years ago, and which has been converted into coal, while the coal in biomass which has been produced by burning the wood in absence of air. So there are coals which have been produced in both the ways, but the coal which has been produced in biomass, okay, is actually a, what we call as a renewable coal, and it is not contributing to the carbon dioxide footprint. Okay, what do you mean by that? Because if you see, the main difference between the biomass and fossil fuels, because it is burned in a similar way and more or less the product is also very much similar, uh, the output is also similar because there is CO2 emission. But the CO2 emission which has been done, okay, its life cycle is only 5 to 20 years. Means the CO2 that is being generated by burning the biomass is being consumed back by the plants, okay, which is useful to grow, like, and this, within 5 to 10 years we can again use it to burn it. Okay, while in terms of fossil fuels, okay, it is actually a life cycle of billion years. So the residues, the organic residues which has been buried below the ground, okay, which has been stored for billion of years, it took billion of years to convert into fossil fuel. So the carbon dioxide which has been stored such a long years back, it has been now been released in the air. So it is actually generating carbon footprint. That is the reason there is an increase of carbon dioxide emission when we consider fossil fuels. Yes, fossil biomass is renewable because because of the time scale. It is we can just grow it back, while fossil fuel it is very difficult, because in this time, though if you again put now all your organic matter, it will take billions of years. So it is not a renewable source as such, in our lifetime span. Okay. So other thing is its energy efficiency of biomass is low. Yes, because it contains less amount of carbon as compared to the fossil fuel, where which is a very high content of carbon. More the carbon, more will be the uh, energy efficiency. But at the same time, it produces more waste. In fossil fuels, if there is a more carbon, so there will be a more ash that have been generated, so it produces more waste, while biomass, since it contains less amount of carbon, so, and it contains mostly water in their because if you burn wood, it contains more amount of water, and that water is been released, and you have only 2% of ash that is being generated, because there is less amount of carbon that has been there. So this is very important to understand. Okay, and if you consider historically, biomass was the first form of usable energy for human beings. Okay, so if you just consider the history, the ancient history, the generation of fire changed everything. Okay, so discovery of fire was able to make us cook food, to melt metals, to create weapons. So if you consider coal, because coal can burn at much higher temperature, so it can able to melt the metals, and because of melting of metal we can able to produce weapons. So that change everything. Okay, so if you see, biomass had, historically, it has a huge implication on our life. So this is a very important form of energy. So I hope I am very clear about biomass and fossil fuel. Though it burns in a similar manner, it produces similar amount of kind of similar amount of uh, products after burning it. But the time span, because of the time span, biomass does not leave back the carbon footprint, while the fossil fuels generate carbon dioxide, which has been stored for billion of years ago. So it actually increases the greenhouse gases, and because of that, we have a lot of problems, as we have discussed in our past lectures. uh, so this is this is very important, that we call biomass as a renewable source while the fossil fuel is non-renewable source, and it is not good to use it. So now how your sunlight or the solar energy is been converted into biomass energy. Okay, so this is, we have been studying this from our school days, that it has been done through photosynthesis, and you have been known about Calvin cycles and how it works. There is a chlorophyll in our leaves which absorbs sunlight and which produces, there is a molecule called thylakoid, which act as a semiconductor, and once it absorbs sunlight, it produces electron and hole pair, and this electron and hole pair is able to split water and split carbon dioxide. Okay, and in that Calvin cycle, the oxygen is being released, while the carbon hydrogen, combines to form carbohydrates, which is CH2O2. Okay, so this is water, this is oxygen that has been released here, this is a carbon dioxide which has been converted into carbohydrate, which is CH2O2. Okay, so in the end what we get is nothing but the carbon dioxide plus water, and in terms of light and chlorophyll, okay, we can generate glucose. This is sugar. Okay, and oxygen which has been released by plant, and which is used for our respiratory system. So sugar, or what we call as carbohydrate, is the main storage of your energy. Okay, in this, nearly about for one carbon in a carbohydrate molecule, which is CH2O, about 5 ev, or let's say to be precisely called as 4.8 ev of your energy is being stored in one carbohydrate molecules. Okay, so this is basically the sunlight is been stored in carbohydrate molecule in form of energy, which is about 4.8 ev in a single uh, carbohydrate molecule, which is CH2O2. Glucose obviously has 6 times more because it has 6 carbon atoms into it. So now let's consider what is the efficiency of this photosynthesis process. Because this is more important for us, because we have energy, so we need to understand the numbers here. So in a basic photosynthesis reaction, okay, there are about minimum of 8 photons of 1.8 ev. Okay, this 8 photons of 1.8 ev is required to produce one carbohydrate molecule. Okay, or to you know create the reaction between water and carbon dioxide to produce oxygen and carbohydrate. Okay, so we require minimum of 8 photons of 1.8 ev. 1.8 ev is in the red zone, is a red light in visible spectrum. So basically the plant absorbs photons of nearly in the red zone or in the blue zone. It doesn't absorb green, it reflects green, and that's the reason we see plants all green in color, because green color of the visible spectrum is not been absorbed by plant. It has been basically is been mainly reflected. So if you just consider the quantum efficiency by calculating the numbers here, you can see that 8 photons of 1.8 will be about 14.4. So this is the input solar energy that is consumed by the plants, while the energy that has been produced, which is one carbohydrate molecule, as I've told you that one carbohydrate molecule will able to store energy of about 4.8 ev. Okay, so that means that 14.4 ev can generate only 4.8 ev of, or it can store only 4.8 ev of your energy. So the total quantum efficiency is 4.8 divided by this, which is about 33%. So even if you give a perfect 8 photons of 1.8 eV, it can only produce 33% quantum maximum quantum efficiency. Okay, you cannot, so photosynthesis cannot go above this value. That is for sure. Okay, if you again you know uh, go ahead, and since like solar cell, we have to also consider the other photons energy also. So if we just consider the solar spectrum, okay, in our solar spectrum, uh, the photons less than 1.8 ev, or let's say in IR zone. IR, it is mostly about 50% of our solar spectrum. So that means that the 50% of the solar spectrum or solar energy is not been absorbed by the leaves. So 50% automatically reduces from this quantum efficiency. Okay. Other factor that one has to understand is the light lost due to reflection and transmission. So solar energy which has been reflected and which has been lost due to transmission is about 25%. Okay, so if we just you know combine all these three factors, which is a quantum efficiency of 0.33, we just we can utilize only 50% of a solar energy from a solar spectrum, and 25% is also lost due to reflection and transmission. So we have only 75% left with us. So if we just multiply this factors, we reach up to only 12%. So the theoretical efficiency of your photosynthesis reaction is approximately 12%. That's it. And if you just take one leaves, or try to do an experiment in your lab, people have reached the maximum practical efficiency in the lab is about 10%. So you can see here that there is a lot of limitations in photosynthesis reactions. Only 10% of your solar energy can be converted into your biomass maximum. Okay, but if you consider a practical scenario where you have like trees and plants outside in the sun, how much this can be converted into usable energy. So if we see here, one third of solar radiation is used during the growing period. Plant need to grow, and the solar radiation, actually only 33% of that solar radiation is being used for their growing purposes. Similarly, one fifth of solar radiation falls on the leaves. If you see, only leaves which can able to generate your, or which can able to perform the reaction of photosynthesis. Okay, while the main trunk or the branches or the other form of your even the roots, they cannot, though they cannot do the photosynthesis reaction, though it used as a transporter to carry water from the soil, or several other things. But the solar radiation has to fall on the leaves for the photosynthesis reaction to occur. But if you consider here, only one fifth of the solar radiation will fall on the leaves, which is on the top part. If you consider the trees, no, only the leaves which are on the top of your trees will get solar radiation, while the leaves which are there at the because there are layers, which are at lower branches, will not get this solar radiation. So that means only one fifth of that solar radiation falls on the leaves. Okay, out of this 60% is used to convert biomass, while 40% is used to sustain the plant, because the plant also needs to sustain. It also respire, it also grows. So 40% is lost to sustain the plant. You just cannot, it will not give on try to give on fruits and vegetables, if you're not able to sustain the plant need to also be sustained, and for that you need the energy. So 40% goes into that sustainability of the plant. So if I just again combine this, we have only 12% theoretical efficiency. In that 12%, one third, which is 33%, is been used during the growing period. Okay, so we can just take that 20% falls on the leaves, okay, while 60% is being converted into biomass, while 40% is lost. So if I just combine this and multiply this, we reach to only 0.5%. Okay, so that means that practically, actually this is the maximum practical efficiency. Okay, so only 0.5% of your solar energy is being converted into your biomass energy. Okay, but this number is again lower to 0.3%, because this is what we call as a maximum practical efficiency. But if you consider, there are many factors like weather conditions, season conditions, and the soil condition and other things, the practical efficiency is just 0.3%. Okay, so that means that it is not a good form of energy storage, because but since it has been grown naturally without any much efforts, and it is cheap, that's the reason even 0.5% is very much acceptable. If you, because if you see the amount of solar energy that has been falling onto our earth surface, you have been doing calculation over it, and you know the amount of solar energy it falls, we can surely take this value. Okay, because even the 0.5% is huge. It's much higher than our yearly usage. So to just summarize over it, I have put down this para from our book that we have been using. If you see here, I'll just read out. The mass of plants and animals on the land produced each year is about 4 into 10 is to 11 tons. You understand tons, right? About 1,000 kilos. So this is been the mass of your animals, plants and animals which have been produced, including us. Okay, this is the yearly production. It contains 1.5 into 10 is to 11 tons of carbon. Okay, so that as I've told you, that one carbon will be about 4.8 ev, and that has been converted into joules. You will get about 7.5 megajoules is been stored in biomass, making the amount of biomass, bioenergy stored equal to 3 into 10 is to 21 joules. If I convert it into power, okay, which is in yearly power, this is about 100 terawatt. And as you know that our usage now is about 18 terawatt, so still it is far higher than what we use. But obviously we cannot just burn everything and produce energy out of it, even the human beings and animals. So this is not practically possible. Okay, so but just to understand the potential of biomass, that we produce on this earth surface in terms of energy. And this is just calculated only on the land area. 100 terawatts that we have calculated, that has been calculated here, it is the biomass that has been produced only on the land area. Most of our earth surface is covered with sea, and sea also contains huge amount of biomass. If you see, there are sea plants, fish and everything, so there is also a lot of biomass being produced there also, because there also the process is the same. We use photosynthesis even there, and it can produce a lot of amount of biomass even in the sea region. Okay, so just coming back here, that it produces about 100 terabytes of your power per year, and our usage is far lower than that. If we just consider that about half the stored biomass energy is used to sustaining the plant animal. Okay, so let's say half of the energy of the your 100 terabyte is being used to sustainability. Just as I've told you that everything needs certain energy to sustain. Every plants need certain energy to grow, to sustain itself. So 50 terabyte has been already lost in that. Okay, of this we use about 1.6 terawatt as a source of energy called biofuel. So only from this 50 terawatt, okay, currently we are using 1.6 terawatt as a source of energy, out of which zero point 0.5 is used for your food that we consume. So If you just calculate in terms of percentage, there is only 12%. Okay, only 12% of your biomass energy is being utilized for biofuels. India, this is much higher. As I've told you, it is 32% because we are, fortunate enough to grow certain biomass, large amount of biomasses, and which can be used to generate energy. So we have been very fortunate in that case. So that's the reason we can utilize nearly about 32%, while globally it is only up to 12%, which is number of 2002, but still it is not been actually it has been decreased to 10% now. So this is what I have been talking about, that even the 50% of bioenergy stored in the oceans, but virtually none of this is been used as a source of energy owing to its inaccessibility. Okay, so just consider the biomass potential. The potential is about 100 terawatt of biomass. 100 terawatt of power can be generated from the biomass which has been produced on the land area. Okay, out of which currently we are using about 1.6 terawatts, which is about 12%. So considering the carbon emissions and the fossil fuel scenarios getting fossil fuel getting over, we have to look into this source of energy where it is much renewable and the carbon footprint is much smaller. So because more you burn bioenergy, more will be the production, so which is also very useful. And out of this total energy that has been used, mostly 60% is used for cooking and heating. In all your countries, like even in India, we mostly use in villages, wood has been the main source of uh, energy to cook food, while in western countries, this wood has been utilized for heating purposes. All your heating part has been done through this wood. Now also the electricity has been generated these days, but it is still very less. People still uses fossil fuels for electricity generation, and not because the efficiency, because the energy storage is quite low in biomass as compared to fossil fuels. While 30% is used for food, it's quite common because without it we cannot survive. And then the 10% is only used for biofuel. So this is the present scenario. So this 10% has to be increased, because in 60% of your cooking and heating, the efficiency is quite low because people don't use it efficiently. They just use it randomly, and they produce heat, and then the efficiency is not quite good. While biofuel, if we extract the certain compound, in that case the efficiency will increase for the energy uses. So that's it for today. This was the first part. This is the assignment that you can do at your home. So you can just calculate the biomass yield in terms of kilowatts per hectare in a year in India. You have to just calculate how much biomass it can produce in form of kilowatt per hectare in India, if we receive the daily solar energy of about 200 watt hour per meter square. So try to calculate this. The efficiency, the solar conversion efficiency, and you have to just see how much area India has, and all other things have been given. So I think so. This is your assignment for today. Uh, Rest we will cover in our second part of our series.